The night was dark and heavy with rain. Thunder rolled across the metal roofs of the small mining colony. Inside a lonely workshop stood Eli, a human mechanic who fixed old machines and alien ships. He lived far away from the main city, choosing peace over noise. The hum of engines and smell of oil were his only company. He liked it that way, or so he told himself that night. He was repairing a broken cargo bot when his scanner flickered. A strange signal appeared, large, moving fast, and coming straight toward his workshop. Eli frowned and stepped outside, the rain soaking his clothes instantly. He looked up at the sky and saw nothing but storm clouds. Then a sound came, deep, powerful, and alive. The air trembled as something massive broke through the clouds. It was not a ship, not a drone, it was a dragon. The creature was unlike anything Eli had ever seen. Its scales shone pale white, glowing faintly under the lightning. Its wings spread wide like sails of light, each movement shaking the ground. But it was wounded, deep gashes across its side, metal sparks mixed with blood. The dragon crashed down near Eli's workshop. Smashing into the muddy ground, steam hissed as rain met hot metal. Eli ran forward, his heart pounding. He had heard of alien species that looked like dragons, but never seen one in real life. This one was different. Its body was part flesh, part machine. A cyber dragon. The creature lifted its head weakly, eyes glowing blue. Its voice was soft but full of power. Human mechanic, it said. "Please save my mate," Eli froze. Unsure if he had heard it right, the dragon spoke again. "Please, she is dying." Behind the large dragon lay another body, smaller, covered with a silver cloak. Eli approached carefully, fear and curiosity mixing inside him. When he pulled the cloak aside, he gasped. The figure was not a full dragon, it had a dragon's wings. But a human's face, its chest rose weakly, its breathing rough and shallow. He had never seen such a thing. A hybrid, half dragon, half human. Eli knelt beside her, checking her vitals. Her body temperature was falling fast. He looked up at the albino dragon. "She won't last long," he said. "I'll need to move her inside." The dragon nodded, lowering its massive head. "Do whatever you must," it whispered. "I will not let her die." With all his strength, Eli dragged the hybrid woman into his workshop. He placed her on the repair table and switched on his medical scanner. Her heartbeat was faint, her circuits damaged. Yes, circuits. Parts of her body had mechanical implants. Old human design. Eli's eyes widened. These were Earth-made parts, and how could she have these? He muttered. The albino dragon stepped closer, its glowing eyes filled with pain. "Because humans made her," it said. Eli turned sharply. "What do you mean humans made her?" The dragon's voice grew soft. "Long ago, your kind tried to mix human and dragon blood. They wanted soldiers, strong like us, smart like you, but most died. She was the only one who survived." Eli stared at the hybrid's face. Her features looked human, gentle even. But beneath her skin, he saw faint silver lines, energy veins glowing faintly. He knew those designs, they were from the old war age. When Earth's armies built living weapons, he had read about them but never believed they existed. He reached for his tools. "If she has human parts, I can fix her," he said. "But I'll need to bypass her power core." The dragon nodded silently, standing guard by the door. Eli connected cables, running diagnostics. The hybrid's internal systems flickered with ancient code. Human encryption. He frowned. This was not ordinary tech, it was military restricted. Someone had hidden secrets inside her body. Maybe even a message. The rain outside grew heavier. Lightning flashed across the window. For a moment, the lights dimmed, and Eli's monitor showed something strange. A symbol. A burning planet. A single word followed. Written in Old Terran script, Shepherd. Eli's heart skipped. That was the code name of Earth's last commander, the one who disappeared after the final war. He had read about him in history logs. Could this woman be connected to him? He worked faster, sweat running down his face. He replaced her damaged circuits, patched her energy lines. The dragon watched silently, its breath shallow and trembling. "Will she live?" it asked quietly. "I don't know," Eli replied. "But I'll try." Minutes passed, then hours. The storm raged outside like the world itself was holding its breath. When Eli finally powered her up, her body arched, light burst from her chest, and her eyes snapped open. Glowing silver, Eli stumbled back, shielding his face. The hybrid gasped for air, clutching the table. Her voice came out weak but clear. Where am I? The albino dragon rushed forward, its massive eyes soft with relief. My heart, it said. You're safe. But before peace could settle, Eli's scanner beeped loudly. Incoming signals, multiple flying objects, closing in fast. He checked the display and saw shapes moving through the storm. Dark metal drones, hundreds of them, each marked with the same burning planet symbol. The same symbol he saw in the hybrid's code. Eli's stomach turned cold. They found us, he whispered. The dragon raised its head, wings unfolding with fury. Then we must run, it growled. Eli nodded, grabbing his toolkit. He didn't know who was hunting them, but he knew one thing. This was no ordinary night. This was the start of something much bigger, something that could change everything humans thought they knew about the war. And about themselves outside, thunder crashed again. The hybrid's silver eyes met Eli's. There was fear in them, but also something deeper, memory, recognition. As if she had seen him before long ago, mechanic, she whispered. You have his eyes, Eli froze. Whose eyes? He asked, but she had already fallen unconscious again. The dragon lowered its head beside her and looked at Eli. You must protect her, it said. She carries the truth your people buried. Eli didn't understand, but he nodded because deep inside he felt it too. Something old was waking. And this was only the beginning. The storm outside had not stopped. Lightning still tore through the clouds. But inside Eli's workshop, silence ruled. The hybrid woman lay still on the repair table, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight on metal. Beside her, the albino dragon breathed slowly. Guarding her like a wall of living armor, Eli sat on the floor, exhausted. He had done all he could to save her life, but what he saw inside her body refused to leave his mind. That strange code, the one marked Shepherd, it was a ghost from Earth's darkest time. He wondered why it was hidden inside her heart, and why the albino dragon trusted a human like him with it. The dragon's voice broke the silence. Her name is Lyra, it said softly. She is my mate and the last of her kind. Eli lifted his head, meeting its glowing eyes. Your kind? He asked. The dragon nodded slowly. Yes. The hybrids, the union of dragon and human, created not by love, but by war. Eli listened quietly as the dragon told its story. Long ago, humans had discovered the dragon's world. They called them sky serpents and feared their power to fight them. Human scientists tried to blend dragon DNA with human soldiers, but most experiments failed. Only one project succeeded, Project Lyra. She was born in pain and raised in a lab, half machine, half living soul. When the war ended, humans tried to erase their crimes. They destroyed the labs, burned records, but Lyra escaped, and so did the albino dragon who loved her. Eli leaned back, his hands shaking slightly. That means she's more than just alive, he said quietly. She's proof of everything the old world tried to hide. The dragon's eyes dimmed. Yes, and that is why they will never stop hunting her. Eli turned to look at Lyra again. Her breathing had steadied, but her body looked fragile. Like glass waiting to shatter, he noticed faint scars around her chest. Marks of surgery. Someone had removed something from inside her. He connected his scanner again and found gaps in her memory data. Files deleted, codes missing, whatever had been taken from her was meant to stay hidden. Then the power flickered. The workshop lights dimmed. Eli turned sharply toward the control panel. Not again, he muttered. He checked the radar, several signals approaching from the storm. He had seen them before, the Syndicate. The same force that wiped out the last human colony. He cursed under his breath. They're tracking her energy signature, he said. The dragon's scales bristled with light. Then we fight, it growled. But Eli shook his head. No, if we fight here, they'll destroy everything. We need to move her. He quickly packed his tools and activated an old transport hover. The dragon lowered its head to help him lift Lyra onto it. When her hand brushed Eli's arm, his vision blurred for a second, a flash and a burning city. Soldiers screaming, the sky on fire, and a man with his face, older, harder, but familiar. He heard a voice whisper, "Finish what I could not." Then the vision was gone. Eli gasped and looked around. The dragon tilted its head. You saw it, didn't you? Eli nodded slowly. She showed me something. A memory or a warning. Before they could speak further, the ground trembled. Explosions thundered in the distance. The Syndicate had arrived. Dozens of black drones pierced the storm clouds. Glowing with red sensors, Eli jumped into the hover. "Hold on!" he shouted. The dragon took flight beside him, wings slicing through the rain. Together they raced through the canyon, lasers cutting through the air behind them. Eli maneuvered between rocky cliffs, using his scanner to find safe paths. The dragon breathed bursts of white plasma, melting drones mid-air, but more kept coming, endless and cold. Eli yelled over the storm, "They want her alive!" The dragon roared back, "Then they will not have her." One drone got close enough to strike, its cannon fired. The hover jolted violently. Eli almost lost control as sparks flew around him. Lyra's weak body rolled dangerously. He grabbed her hand to steady her, and again. That strange vision flickered. This time, a voice spoke directly in his mind. "Eli Shepard. The key is within you." He nearly froze. That name, Shepard, the same code from the hybrid's chest, could it mean him? Could he be a descendant of the old commander? The hover skidded to a stop at the edge of the canyon. Below was darkness and on a deep chasm leading to the planet's core. "We're trapped," Eli muttered. The dragon landed beside him, bleeding from its wing. "I can carry her," the dragon said. "No," Eli replied. "Your wing's torn. You won't make it." He looked around desperately, scanning for shelter. Then his screen flashed. A faint signal. Underground it read Sanctuary 1. He didn't know what it was, but it was their only hope. He turned to the dragon. "There's something below us," he said. "An old base, maybe." The dragon frowned. "That name, I've heard it before." Before either could say more, a blinding light filled the sky. A syndicate command ship had arrived, massive and silent. Eli felt the ground quake under its gravity pulse. "We don't have time," he shouted. He grabbed the control stick and pointed the hover straight into the chasm. The dragon leapt in after him, folding its wings tight. They plunged into the darkness, chased by burning drones. Eli's heart raced, every muscle tight. He could feel Lyra's heartbeat against his arm, weak but steady. The deeper they fell, the colder it became. The storm above disappeared, replaced by silent blue light. Suddenly, the hover's sensors detected a structure below. Metal, large, ancient. They crashed through a broken gate and came to a halt in a vast underground hall. Eli climbed out, coughing from smoke. The walls glowed with faded human symbols. He brushed off the dust and read the words carved in steel. Sanctuary 1 for peace between worlds. He turned to the dragon, who stared in disbelief. "This place, it's real," the dragon whispered. Eli looked at the sleeping hybrid and then at the massive steel doors ahead. "If this place was built for peace," he said quietly, "then maybe it's time to finish what they started." Behind them, far above the canyon, the syndicate ships hovered, scanning the area. But the storm swallowed their signals. For now, Eli, Lyra, and the Albino Dragon were safe. Yet as they stepped deeper into the forgotten base, none of them knew what waited inside. Old machines hummed to life, reading Eli's presence. And a voice echoed from the shadows. "Welcome back." Shepard. Eli froze, his pulse stopped for a second. The dragon growled low, wings spreading slightly. The voice spoke again, calm and ancient. "Your ancestors left this place for you. Now you must decide. Will you bring peace or war?" Eli swallowed hard. He didn't understand what was happening. But deep inside, he knew one thing. This was no accident. His meeting with the dragon, the hybrid, the code, it was all connected. And the truth he was about to uncover would change both species forever. The storm had faded into a dull, distant growl. But deep underground, inside the ruins of Sanctuary 1, the air was thick and cold. Eli stood in silence, staring at the ancient metal walls that hummed softly with faint blue light. The albino dragon loomed behind him, massive wings folded close, its glowing eyes scanning every shadow. On the table near them lay Lyra, the hybrid woman, her body still weak but her breathing steady. Eli touched a glowing console covered in dust. Symbols flickered to life, words written in an old human dialect. The screen whispered softly, "Welcome, descendant of Shepard." Eli felt his heart tighten. "I don't even know what that means," he muttered. The dragon tilted its head. "Your blood remembers," it said quietly. "Even if your mind does not." As the console powered up, the walls around them came alive with moving lights. Holograms appeared, scenes from the old war, humans and dragons fighting side by side, not as enemies but as allies. The images changed again, showing soldiers building this place, Sanctuary 1. It had been meant as a safe haven, a peace zone where both species could live together. But the final image froze in static, showing a symbol of fire, the syndicate insignia, and then screams, explosions, and silence. Eli turned away, shaking his head. So the syndicate destroyed this place, he said. The dragon nodded slowly. They feared what peace could become. Eli looked down at Lyra. She was part of this too, he said softly. Maybe even the key to it. Before the dragon could answer, a low mechanical hum filled the air. The lights above flickered and the ground trembled slightly. Eli's eyes darted to the radar on his wrist. The screen showed several moving red dots and approaching fast. He swallowed hard. "They've found us," he whispered. The albino dragon's wings flared open, glowing with silver light. "Then they will meet their end," it growled. But Eli grabbed its clawed arm. "No, listen," he said, his voice steady. "If they destroy this place, we'll lose everything, and the proof, the history." "Her memories," the dragon hesitated, then nodded. "Then what is your plan, human?" Eli looked around, scanning the walls. He noticed a sealed door labeled Command Core. "If we can reach the Command Core," he said, "I might be able to activate the old defense grid." The dragon's eyes narrowed. "And if it no longer works?" Eli gave a small smile. "Then we improvise." They moved quickly. Eli pushed Lyra's hoverbed along the metallic floor, while the dragon guarded their back. The tunnels echoed with distant mechanical noises. The syndicate's drones were getting closer. Every sound of metal against metal made Eli's pulse quicken. He could almost feel the drones scanning through the dark, searching for them. When they reached the command core, the massive door was sealed shut. Eli set his hand against the scanner. It flashed red. "Access denied." He gritted his teeth. Come on," he muttered, typing in old codes he remembered from war archives. Nothing worked then. Softly, Lyra spoke from behind him, her voice weak but clear. "Try the code. 7-3 Alpha Shepherd." Eli froze and turned to her. Her eyes were open again, glowing faint silver. "How do you know that?" he asked. Lyra gave a faint smile. "Because he gave it to me," she whispered. "Your ancestor, the commander." Eli hesitated but entered the code. The scanner flashed green, and the door slowly opened with a deep rumble. Inside the chamber, a massive holographic map appeared, showing the planet above and hundreds of red dots descending from orbit. The syndicate was coming in full force. Eli clenched his fists. "They're going to burn the whole planet just to kill us." He ran to the main console, searching through the systems. "Come on. There has to be something," he muttered. The dragon growled behind him. "They are near," it said. "I can smell the metal in the air." Eli found a file marked Sentinel Protocol. When he opened it, the console asked for DNA verification. He pressed his finger against the scanner. The screen scanned him, then blinked green. "Access granted," it said, activating Sentinel defense grid far above. On the planet's surface, ancient towers began to awaken. Buried weapons rose from the ground, glowing with blue energy. The first wave of syndicate drones was hit by beams of light that cut through the storm. Explosions painted the sky. The dragon roared in triumph. Eli couldn't help but grin. The base still lived. But then the map flickered red. A larger signal appeared, massive and pulsing. A syndicate command ship had entered the atmosphere. Eli's smile faded. "They're sending their main vessel," he said. The dragon's scales shimmered with light. "Then we destroy it before it destroys us." Suddenly the room shook violently. Ceiling panels fell as an explosion tore through the upper tunnels. Sparks flew across the floor and smoke filled the air. Through the broken doorway, metallic figures began to descend. Humanoid soldiers with glowing red eyes, each one carrying weapons made of black plasma. Eli grabbed a pulse rifle from the wall. "Keep them off me," he shouted to the dragon. The dragon roared and unleashed a torrent of white fire that melted the first wave of attackers. But more came, relentless and silent. Eli kept firing, but their armor was too strong. Then Lyra rose weakly from her hoverbed, her eyes now blazing silver white. She stretched out her hand and the air crackled with energy. The soldiers froze mid-motion, their weapons turning red-hot. Then they exploded in bursts of light. Eli stared in disbelief. "Lyra, what did you just do?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "I remembered," she said softly, "what I was made to be." More explosions rumbled from above. The syndicate command ship was preparing to fire its main cannon. Eli looked at the screen. a massive energy buildup directly above their coordinates. He turned to Lyra and the dragon. If that cannon hits us, the whole base goes down, he said. Lyra stepped forward, still weak but glowing brighter. Then I'll stop it, she said. Eli grabbed her arm. You can't. Your body won't survive that much power. She smiled sadly. I was never meant to survive. The dragon lowered its head beside her. If she goes, I go, it said. Eli's throat tightened. No, he said firmly. No one dies today. He turned back to the console, typing faster than ever. He rerouted the defense system's power to the surface cannons, overloading the reactors. The alarm screamed as the base began to tremble. What are you doing? The dragon roared. Eli shouted back. Giving them a reason to run. The next second, a pillar of light shot from the ground into the sky. It pierced the clouds and struck the Syndicate's cannon mid-charge. The entire command ship lit up like a sun before breaking apart. The explosion echoed through the heavens. For a brief moment, everything was silent. Then the base went dark. Only the emergency lights glowed faintly. Eli stood there breathing hard, covered in dust. Lyra had fallen unconscious again, her body dimming. The dragon bent low. Whispering her name softly, Eli placed a hand on the console. She bought us time, he said quietly. But they'll be back. He looked up at the dark ceiling. Somewhere beyond it, the Syndicate's surviving fleet circled. Waiting, Eli clenched his jaw. This isn't over, he whispered. The dragon's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. No, it said. This is only the beginning of the war to come. And as they stood among the ruins of the ancient base, a small spark of light blinked again on the console screen, a message flashing over and over in pale blue text. Shepard Protocol, Stage 2 initiated. The air inside Sanctuary 1 was heavy with dust and silence. Flickering blue lights ran weakly through the cracked walls. Eli stood beside the sleeping hybrid, Lyra, and stared at the faint pulse that glowed beneath her skin. Every few seconds, her chest light flickered in rhythm with the hum of the old machines. She was alive but fragile, a living reminder of a war long forgotten. The albino dragon rested nearby, its wings folded like silver cloth, its breathing slow and deep. But its eyes never truly closed, even in rest. It watched over her like a guardian of fire. Eli sat beside the command console, replaying the old holograms the base had shown him earlier. They told fragments of the truth, battles between humans and dragons, and then something stranger. A human leader shaking hands with a dragon elder under the flag of peace. And beneath that symbol were the words, Project Shepard, the last alliance. He ran his hand through his messy hair and whispered, My ancestor was part of this, wasn't he? The dragon lifted its head slowly. He was more than part of it, it said, its deep voice echoing softly. He was the one who tried to stop the war. Eli turned to face the creature, eyes sharp with disbelief. My grandfather? You mean he was fighting for the dragons? The dragon nodded. Not just fighting, leading. Eli shook his head, trying to understand. Then why did the war end with destruction? Why was Earth burned? The dragon's eyes glowed faintly blue. Because not all humans agreed with him, it said. They feared what they could not control. They called him a traitor, and the Syndicate was born from that fear. Eli sat back against the cold metal wall, the truth weighing on him. So the Syndicate wasn't alien after all. It was human. Humans who betrayed their own, who destroyed their home to erase the shame of their actions. He clenched his fists. All this time he thought the dragons were monsters, but maybe it was humanity that became the monster. A soft sound pulled him from his thoughts. Lyra stirred on the table, her eyes opening slightly. Her voice was a whisper, gentle and mechanical at once. You've seen it, she said. Eli leaned closer. Seen what? The truth, she murmured. The war wasn't between humans and dragons. It was between peace and control. Her eyes flickered with light, projecting small images into the air. Eli saw a young man, his ancestor, standing in a vast command room. He was surrounded by other officers, but their faces were blurred. A recording played of his voice filled with determination. If we keep fighting, both species will fall. We must build Sanctuary 1 and protect the hybrids. They are our bridge, not our weapons. The hologram ended with a single flash of light, an explosion that consumed everything. Lyra's breathing quickened. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. Hey, take it easy, he said softly. But she shook her head, her expression pained. They destroyed the base before it could finish its purpose. But he survived long enough to send one last message. Eli frowned. What message? Her eyes dimmed and her voice dropped to a whisper. To his bloodline, she said. He said, one day his descendant would come and finish what he could not. Eli's stomach turned cold. You're saying... That's me? Lyra's gaze met his, her silver eyes calm. You carry his DNA, his command codes, and his memories. The base recognizes you because you are his legacy. Before Eli could respond, the ground shook violently. The dragon rose to its feet, wings spreading wide. What now? Eli muttered, rushing to the console. He checked the radar and cursed. They're back. The screen showed hundreds of red dots, syndicate forces tunneling underground. They found another route, he said. The dragon growled deeply, smoke curling from its nostrils. Then we make them regret it. Eli activated the base defenses again, but the system flashed red. Power depleted, damn it, he hissed. Lyra struggled to sit up, her voice faint. There's another energy core, she said. It's deep below, where the old archives are stored. Eli grabbed his toolkit and nodded. Then that's where we're going. They moved through the dim tunnels. Guided by flickering lights, the deeper they went, the more ancient the base became. Walls turned from smooth steel to rough stone. Strange carvings glowed faintly, half-human, half-dragon symbols. It was clear that Sanctuary 1 had not just been a base, it had been a temple, a place of unity. At last they reached the central chamber. In the center stood a massive glowing crystal pulsing with blue light. The dragon approached it with awe. This is no machine, it whispered. This is a heart. Eli placed his hand on the crystal's surface. Feeling it vibrate gently, data symbols danced across his wrist scanner. It's alive, he said softly. It's an organic reactor, part dragon energy, part human tech. Suddenly the floor shook again. Explosions echoed from above. The syndicate troops had breached the upper levels. Eli worked fast to reconnect the core's conduits. Lyra stumbled to his side, her voice weak but firm. If you connect this to the command core, it will restore the defenses. Eli nodded, pulling wires and rerouting circuits. Sparks flew as the old system came to life. The entire chamber glowed brighter. Energy surged through the walls like veins of light. Then from the shadows behind them, a voice spoke, cold and human. You've done well, Eli. Eli turned sharply. Aiming his pulse rifle, a man stepped out wearing syndicate armor. His face pale and scarred, he smiled thinly. I wondered how long it would take the shepherd bloodline to return. Eli's grip tightened. Who are you? The man took off his helmet slowly. I am General Kor, last commander of the syndicate fleet and your ancestors' greatest mistake, the dragon growled. Stepping protectively in front of Eli and Lyra, Kor's red mechanical eyes gleamed. You think you're saving the galaxy? He sneered. Your ancestor tried the same. And doomed us all. The hybrids were meant to obey, not unite. Eli's jaw clenched. You turned peace into slavery. Kor laughed darkly. Peace is a word for the weak, boy. He raised his plasma blade. But don't worry. I'll finish what he started. Before he could strike, the dragon lunged forward, roaring. Its claws collided with Kor's blade, sending a burst of light through the chamber. Eli grabbed Lyra and connected the final circuit. The moment the wires touched, the crystal core exploded with energy. Blue light flooded the entire base. Machines woke from centuries of sleep. And the voice of the AI echoed through the halls once more. Sanctuary 1, fully reactivated. Kor stumbled back, shielding his eyes. The dragon swung its tail and sent him crashing into the wall. Eli pulled Lyra close as energy poured through the chamber. When the light finally dimmed, the syndicate general was gone, vanished into the smoke. Eli looked around, breathless. The dragon exhaled slowly. He will return, it said. Eli nodded, his eyes cold with new determination. Then we'll be ready. As the lights of Sanctuary 1 blazed to life once again, a hologram appeared above the core. His ancestor, the original shepherd. He looked straight at Eli and spoke with calm strength. If you're seeing this, then the war never truly ended. But know this, peace was never lost, it was only waiting for someone brave enough to remember. Eli stood in silence. For the first time in his life, he understood his purpose. The past wasn't just history, it was a promise. And he was the one chosen to keep it alive. The air inside Sanctuary 1 had changed. No longer cold and lifeless, now it pulsed with warmth and quiet energy. Blue light danced across the metal walls like veins carrying life. Machine's long-forgotten word back to motion. Eli stood in the center of it all, staring at the glowing core he had just reactivated. The hum of power echoed through his bones. It was alive again, and it recognized him as its keeper. Lyra sat beside the main console, still weak but conscious. The albino dragon rested behind her, its silver scales glimmering faintly in the low light. For the first time there was a small peace between them, but it didn't last long. Eli looked at the holographic map above the control table. The defense systems were online again, but so were the other sections of the base. Whole corridors and lower levels that had been sealed since the war now glowed with new signals. "It's bigger than I thought," he murmured. The dragon tilted its head. "What is?" "This place," Eli replied softly. "Sanctuary 1 isn't just a base. It's a city." Lyra looked up, her voice quiet. "It was built to shelter both species after the war," she said. "Humans and dragons were meant to live here together, until the Syndicate found it and turned peace into ashes." Eli frowned and touched one of the blinking lights on the map. "This section, level 13, it's showing life signs." The dragon's eyes widened slightly. "Impossible," it said. "No one could have survived here for centuries." Eli shook his head. "Not unless they were in cryo." They made their way through the tunnels, guided by glowing arrows that appeared on the walls. The air grew colder the deeper they went. Frost coated the metal surfaces, and the lights flickered dimly as though tired from age. When they reached the end of the corridor, Eli saw a door sealed shut with thick ice. He wiped it clear and found words written in fading paint. "Cryo Bay 07, Human Preservation Unit." His stomach turned tight. He looked at Lyra. "You were right," she nodded slowly, her eyes glowing faintly. "He saved them," she whispered. "Your ancestor saved them." Eli pressed his hand against the scanner beside the door. It scanned him and beeped green. "Access granted." "Shepard," the machine said softly. The door groaned open, releasing a gust of frozen air. Inside were rows upon rows of cryopods, each glowing faint blue inside them, sleeping humans, their faces peaceful and untouched by time. Eli walked among them in silence, his breath misting in the cold. Each pod had a nameplate. He stopped at one that made his heart skip. "Commander L. Shepard." He pressed his hand to the glass. It was him, the ancestor, the man whose name echoed in the base's code. Eli turned to Lyra. "He's here," he whispered. Lyra looked at the pod with sorrow in her eyes. "He tried to wake them once," she said, "but the system failed. He sealed himself inside to protect the last survivors." Eli swallowed hard. He knew what he had to do. He moved to the control panel and began entering commands. "Can you really wake them?" the dragon asked. "I can try," Eli replied. "The system's stable again when we have power." He activated the sequence. Lights flashed down the rows and soft mechanical sounds filled the air. Steam rose from the pods as the glass covers began to slide open. One by one, the sleeping humans took their first breaths in centuries. Eli's heart pounded. It was working. But then the system alarm blared red. Lyra's eyes widened. "Something's wrong." Eli looked at the monitor. Multiple signals were moving fast through the upper tunnels. "They're here," he said, "the Syndicate." The dragon's wings unfolded with a low growl. "They will not harm them," it said. Eli nodded. "Then we fight, but we protect these people no matter what." As the first humans awoke, confusion filled the room. They stumbled out of the pods, blinking and shivering. One soldier raised a weapon at the dragon instinctively. Eli rushed forward, shouting, "Wait! He's with us!" The man froze, eyes narrowing. "With us? That thing's a dragon." Eli stepped closer. "He's alive because of us, not despite us. The war you remember is over. But if we don't stand together now, it'll start again." The soldier hesitated, then lowered his weapon. "Who are you?" he asked. Eli looked at him steadily. "I'm Eli Shepard, the last mechanic of Earth, and your commander's descendant." The man's eyes widened. He turned toward the pod containing the old commander and whispered, "Then maybe there's still hope." Before they could speak further, the wall shook violently. An explosion ripped through the tunnel behind them. The Syndicate troops poured in, armored in black and red. Their leader's voice echoed through a speaker. "Humanity belongs to the Syndicate," he said coldly. "Return the hybrid or be erased." Eli ducked behind a control console. "Everyone to cover." he shouted. The dragon unleashed a blast of plasma fire. Melting the first wave of soldiers, Lyra raised her hand, her silver light cutting through the darkness like a blade. The air trembled as her energy met their plasma fire. Explosions flashed around them, lighting the icy chamber in chaos. One of the cryopods shattered, sparks flying across the room. Eli sprinted through the smoke. Repairing what he could, he shouted over the noise. "If we lose this section, the survivors will die." Lyra turned to him, her voice urgent. "Then reroute power to the barrier field." Eli opened a panel and began rewiring circuits as fast as he could. The dragon shielded him from gunfire. Roaring like thunder, "Faster, human!" it bellowed. "I'm trying." Eli yelled back, twisting the final wire. The field flared to life. A shimmering wall of blue energy surrounded the cryo chamber. The Syndicate soldiers slammed against it and burned. Eli collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. "We did it," he breathed. Lyra knelt beside him, her hand glowing softly. "For now," she said, "but they'll regroup." The dragon looked toward the tunnel, its voice low and grim. "They will not stop until they claim this place." Eli stood, wiping sweat from his face. "Then we won't let them," he said firmly. "We wake the rest, we rebuild this base, and we remind the galaxy that humans and dragons once fought together. And can again." The soldier from earlier stepped forward, saluting sharply. "Commander Shepard would have wanted that," he said. Eli smiled faintly. "Then let's finish what he started." As the humans began organizing, Lyra leaned against the dragon, her eyes dimming with exhaustion. "Every battle we win brings them closer," she said quietly. "Who?" Eli asked. She looked at him, her voice soft and haunting. "The ones who started it all, the true syndicate. The ones still watching from the stars." Eli's gaze turned toward the ceiling. Far above them, beyond the storm clouds and fire, somewhere in deep space he imagined cold eyes watching, waiting. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight. "Then we'll go to them," he whispered. "And this time, humanity won't kneel." The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. "And neither will we," it said. As the light of the restored base spread through the tunnels, Eli felt something awaken, not just in the machines, but in the people. In himself, hope, burning bright like the engines of a world reborn. The ruins of Sanctuary 1 trembled with distant thunder. Dust fell from the ceilings. Lights flickered across long-forgotten corridors. The old base, once silent for centuries, now pulsed with life again. But that life came at a cost. The Syndicate was back. Angrier, smarter, and closer than ever, Eli stood on the central platform, hands deep in the glowing interface of the base's command console. His face was pale from exhaustion, his eyes sharp and restless. Lines of code scrolled fast across the holographic screen. He was connecting defense networks, rerouting old systems, trying to keep them alive for one more fight behind him. The albino dragon stretched its wounded wings. The membranes shimmered with light, torn but healing slowly. Lyra sat at the edge of the command room. Her silver eyes dim, her energy was fading, and yet she smiled faintly when she saw Eli working. "You don't stop, do you?" she asked softly. Eli looked over his shoulder. "If I stop, everything stops." She tilted her head slightly. "You remind me of him." "Who?" "Your ancestor," she said, her voice warm but tired. "He had the same fire, the kind that keeps burning even when everything turns to ash." Eli paused, staring at her. He didn't know how to respond to that, so he just said quietly, "I'm not like him." Lyra smiled. That's what he said too, before he could reply. A sharp beep interrupted them. The console flashed red. The defense grid had gone offline in the upper sectors. Eli cursed under his breath. "They're breaching from above," he said. The dragon growled deeply, smoke curling from its nostrils. "Then we fight again." Eli looked around the command room. There were over 50 humans now, soldiers who had been frozen for centuries. They were disoriented but loyal. Many had once served under his ancestors' command. Now they followed Eli not because of rank, but because of blood. "Listen up," Eli shouted, his voice echoed through the chamber. "The Syndicate's coming from the upper tunnels. They'll try to take the core and the hybrids. We can't let that happen. This base is our last defense, for humans, for dragons. For everyone who still believes in peace." The soldiers nodded, some nervously, others with fierce determination. The dragon leaned down beside Eli. "Humans and dragons fighting together again," it rumbled. "It has been a long time." Eli smiled faintly. Then let's make it count. They spread out through the tunnels. The humans armed with pulse rifles and plasma grenades. The dragon moving silently through the darkness, its scales glowing like a living beacon. Eli carried a modified repair blaster, half tool, half weapon. Lyra stayed behind in the control room, connected to the base systems through an energy link. Her voice echoed through the speakers. I'll guide you through the tunnels, she said. Just don't get yourselves killed before I finish boosting the shields. The first wave hit hard. Syndicate drones poured through the ceiling vents, red eyes blazing in the dark. Their metallic feet clanged against the floor like the rhythm of death. Eli ducked behind cover, firing quick bursts that tore through their ranks. The dragon unleashed a blast of plasma fire that turned 3 drones into molten scrap. The air filled with smoke and static. Sparks rained from the ceiling like falling stars. But for every drone they destroyed, 2 more appeared. Eli shouted over the chaos. Lyra, where are those shield boosts? Her voice crackled in his ear. Almost there, but I'm losing control of the reactor's core. The systems are overloading. Then shut down non-essential power. I can't, she replied, her tone urgent. If I do, the cryo survivors will die, Eli cursed and reloaded. The dragon crushed another drone under its claws. Smoke curled through the tunnels, mixing with the metallic scent of burnt circuits. Eli's wrist scanner beeped again, this time showing a much larger heat signature approaching. He glanced up the tunnel and froze. A massive figure stepped into view. A syndicate titan, 10 feet tall, armored in black steel, carrying a plasma blade burning red. The titan's mechanical voice boomed. Descendant of Shepherd. Surrender the hybrid. Eli gritted his teeth. Not happening. The titan raised its sword. Then perish with your ancestors, the dragon charged. Roaring like thunder, the titan met it head on. Their clash shook the entire tunnel. Energy waves rippled through the air, knocking soldiers off their feet. Eli ran forward, firing at the titan's joints. Sparks flew, but the armor barely dented. The creature turned its gaze toward him, its red eyes glowing brighter. You are not him, it said coldly. Eli smirked. No, but I learned from him. He pulled a small device from his belt and threw it. A magnetic EMP charge. It stuck to the titan's chest. Eli dove for cover as it exploded. The giant roared, falling to one knee, its systems flickering wildly. The dragon took its chance. It leapt forward and drove its claws deep into the titan's chest. With a burst of white plasma, the machine shattered into pieces. Silence followed, broken only by the hum of energy fading from the walls. Eli stood slowly, coughing from the smoke. The dragon lowered its head. Well fought, human, it said. Eli grinned. You too. Scales, then Lyra's voice came through the comms again. Eli, the syndicate ship is descending. They're going to destroy the entire base. Eli ran back toward the command room. Lyra stood in front of the main console, her body glowing brighter than before. Her voice was calm but strained. I can stop them, she said. How? By linking with the reactor. I can redirect its energy to the surface. But it will destroy me. Eli froze. No, Lyra. There has to be another way. She smiled gently. You humans always say that. Sometimes the only way forward is through sacrifice. The dragon stepped closer, shaking its head. There will be no more death today, it said. But Lyra was already connecting herself to the energy core. Her body lifted slightly off the ground. Silver light flowing from her veins into the walls. Eli ran forward, trying to stop her. But the energy pushed him back, her voice echoed, both inside his ears and inside his mind. Tell them the truth, Eli. Tell them what peace was meant to be. The base began to shake violently. Energy roared upward through the tunnels. A column of light shot into the sky above the planet. It struck the Syndicate command ship mid-orbit. The explosion was so bright that even the dragon turned its head away. When the light faded, the ship was gone. Nothing remained but silence and falling ash. Eli lay on the floor, gasping. The room around him glowed faintly. The energy storm had ended, but Lyra's body was gone. Only her pendant, a small silver disc marked with the symbol of peace, remained on the floor. He picked it up, trembling. She's gone, he whispered. The dragon lowered its massive head beside him. Not gone, it said softly. She became part of this place, part of the light. Eli stood slowly, tears mixing with sweat and dust outside. The sky cleared for the first time in decades. The storm was gone, the stars shone again. He looked at the pendant in his hand and clenched it tightly. Then he turned to the dragon. "War's not over," he said. The dragon nodded. "No," it said. "But now you have hope." And as the last echoes of the battle faded into silence, Eli Shepard, the human mechanic, looked to the horizon and whispered, "This time we rebuild." Together, the storm that had haunted the skies of Veyrath for centuries was gone. The air was calm now, glowing faintly blue under the twin moons. What once had been chaos and fire was now silence, heavy, sacred silence. Eli stood at the mouth of the collapsed tunnel, his body bruised, his heart heavier than steel. The wind brushed against his face, carrying the scent of dust and ozone. He held Lyra's pendant tightly in his palm, its silver light pulsing like a heartbeat that refused to die. The albino dragon stood beside him, battered and scorched, its great wings folded, smoke rising faintly from the torn edges. For the first time, the proud creature seemed still, as if unsure whether victory or loss had truly come. Below them, the ruins of Sanctuary 1 glowed faintly under the ground. The once hidden base was now a radiant scar, alive with energy but empty of its soul. "She's gone," Eli whispered, his voice barely audible. The dragon looked down, its glowing eyes soft and sad. "No," it said. "She is within the light now. She became what she was always meant to be, the bridge between us." Eli looked at the horizon where the Syndicate ship had been destroyed. A faint streak of light still burned in the atmosphere like a wound in the sky. "She saved us," he said quietly. The dragon nodded slowly, and in doing so, "She awakened something older than both our species." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" The dragon turned its gaze upward. "Look," it said. Eli followed its gaze and saw it. High above, in the empty void between stars, a massive light flickered, not natural, not a star. It pulsed in rhythm with Lyra's pendant, as if something out there had answered her final call. Eli's stomach turned cold. "That's not her, is it?" The dragon's wings twitched slightly. "No," it said gravely. "That is Earth. And it is waking up." The words hit him like a shock. Earth. His home. Or what was left of it. The planet everyone believed dead. Destroyed in the last war, swallowed by its own fire. He had dreamed of it, mourned it, but never thought it could return. And yet now, its signal pulsed in the void, steady, deliberate, as if it had been waiting all this time. The dragon tilted its great head toward him. "The Syndicate was never truly separate from your kind," it said. "They were born from the ashes of your fear, and if Earth rises again, it may not bring peace." Eli's throat tightened. "You think they're coming?" The dragon nodded. "They will come, to reclaim what they lost. To take back what they think is theirs." Eli looked down at Lyra's pendant again. The silver surface reflected his face, tired, scarred human, and behind his reflection, the faint shimmer of dragon eyes. For the first time, he saw what she had meant. Human and dragon, neither meant to conquer the other. They were meant to complete each other. He turned to the dragon. "If Earth is coming back, we need to be ready." The creature's wings flared slightly, its voice deep and calm. "Then we prepare together." Eli nodded. "But not for war," he said softly. "For peace, real peace. The kind she died for." They returned to the lower levels of Sanctuary 1. The surviving soldiers worked tirelessly to repair the damage. Machines hummed again. Drones carried supplies. The cryo-survivors who had been awakened now helped rebuild the city. Dragons from the outer wastelands began to arrive too, drawn by the energy beacon Lyra had unleashed. At first they approached with caution, wary of the humans. But when they saw Eli standing beside the albino dragon, they hesitated. The dragon spread its wings and roared. "By the light of the hybrid, the war ends here." The sound carried for miles, echoing through the canyons like thunder. Eli raised his hand and shouted, "Humans and dragons fought, died, and lost everything. But today we build something neither side has ever known and trust." The crowd, both human and dragon, stood in stunned silence. Then one of the older soldiers stepped forward. He saluted Eli and said, "You're your ancestors' echo." "Shepard," Eli smiled faintly. "No," he said. "I'm just finishing what he started." Days turned into weeks as the rebuilding began. The broken walls of the base were reforged with dragon metal. The sleeping humans were revived one by one, and for the first time in living memory, a city of both species stood side by side. Machines powered by dragon plasma, buildings shaped by human hands, children, both scaled and smooth-skinned, laughing in the light. But peace never lasted long in human history, and the stars never stayed silent one night. As Eli stood on the ridge above the new city, his radar beeped softly. A transmission. Faint. Ancient, encrypted, he opened it, expecting static. Instead, a voice spoke in calm, distant human. Descendant of Shepherd, it said. This is Command Earth, we have received your beacon. Stand by for retrieval. Eli froze, his heart skipping a beat. The dragon beside him lowered its head. So it begins, it rumbled. Eli clenched his fists. He looked out at the sleeping city, humans and dragons together under the twin moons. He thought of Lyra, of her final sacrifice, and of what her voice had said to him before the end. Peace is not a gift. It's a choice. He turned to the dragon. If Earth comes here to rule, we resist, but if they come to listen, we teach. The dragon's silver eyes glowed. And if they come to destroy? Eli looked up at the stars and smiled faintly. Then they'll learn that dragons aren't the only ones who can breathe fire. The wind rose again, gentle but cold, carrying the faint echo of Lyra's laughter. Or maybe it was just memory. Either way, it gave him strength. He slipped her pendant around his neck and whispered, For you, Lyra, for both our worlds. Then he turned toward the distant shimmer of Earth's awakening signal, not as a soldier, not as a mechanic, but as something more. A bridge between two broken species. A flame reborn from the ashes of war. The last shepherd and the first builder of peace. As dawn broke across the horizon, the dragons roared in unison. The humans raised their banners high, and somewhere far above, Earth answered with a low hum, a promise, or perhaps a warning. The choice would be theirs, and this time Eli would make sure they chose peace.